Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Games, the podcast. I'm Dennis Den. I'm here with
Joey. How you doing?
What's up, guys? It's your boy Dorian.
And here we are to talk about the latest games that's coming out that we've been playing. A lot of cool stuff. We've been talking about the Spider-Man a lot. We did that last week. We still have some with the Big Boss Man today, later. But also, let's talk about the first thing, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It comes out tomorrow. This is a game that we kind of checked out at E3. I know you played a demo of it. And you got to play the whole game. There's a review up on the channel.
Yes, it is.
So what are your overall impressions of the game, and what makes it different than the previous iterations?
So overall, I love the game. I know yesterday on the Twitch, I was giving it some critiques, but overall, I love the game. I said I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think the biggest upgrade was some of the techniques they added, and also like underwater play plays a huge a bigger factor in this game overall. But they kind of stick to the same formula, like you're fighting Trinity, trying to beat them to the treasure, trying to protect people and all that. But I think the main difference was like the underwater features and more like I guess the difficulty. You can change your difficulty on puzzles, because I think I put mine on easy because like the first time I went around, some of them were kind of challenging, so I made it back to easy. But if you're into like solving puzzles and stuff like that, if you want to be like Indiana Jones or some type of shit like that, then you can like make it on a harder difficulty. So I think that was a cool feature, just in case you don't want to spend too much time on like the puzzles and stuff like that. But I think the story overall, it was better story wise than like the actual gameplay. They did a good job of telling Lara Croft, making sure like she gets more of a compelling story arc to finish up this trilogy, if this is going to be the last game in the franchise or this iteration. Yeah, this iteration.
Yeah, I mean, well, like when I first played it, which was before E3 at the judges event, I wasn't super impressed with it, and especially after E3, you know, like the demo that I played through, I felt like I could have not pressed any buttons and anything, like it would have still worked, because it was all just like QuickTime events.
Yeah, like it was like a Telltale game or something.
Yeah, it was like a QuickTime event into a cutscene into a QuickTime event kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, but if I hadn't been like frantically mashing, would it have still worked if I had just, you know, like it didn't feel like I needed to be there.
It feels like that all the way up until like you get, because they do a flash. It starts off with 2 days earlier, and then once you like get off once you like you see the event and it leads like this is the present, that's when it like kind of you're actually moving around in the forest.
So like after PyTT?
No, not after PyTT. Like once you I think you played it like once you you start fighting the animals and stuff like that, and then I guess more once you get to the civilization of PyTT, that's when you feel like you're taking over most of the time.
But still, like that's 4 hours into the game.
True.
So
how long is the game overall to finish?
Like it took me about 17 hours, 17. Yeah, and I honestly would have liked it to be a little longer of the game, especially building up to the end of the game, because it just felt like I talked about this in my review. Once you're playing and you're like, all right, what you do the last challenge or whatever. I don't want to spoil it, but after it finishes, you're like, wait, this is really the end of the game. Like
we've gotten so many good games this year. You know, like we've had Detroit, we've had God of War, we've had Spider-Man, we've got Red Dead Redemption 2 on the way, we've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey on the way, which I'm starting to warm up to. The more
we'll talk about that later.
That it's a Assassin's Creed game. That like I feel like any other year, Shadow of the Tomb Raider would have been like
a high
it would have been a high contender, and now it's just kind of like a blip on the radar.
Yeah, I mean we're so spoiled with how good games are now.
We really are at this point. Like honestly, I mean, after playing God of War, I was not impressed with like the cuts and the editing of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Felt clunky. God of War literally does not have a cut, so like that's
you just go in like
transition and fluid.
Oh wait,
and
I'm playing again.
After doing that, it's like, well, seeing those cuts in Shadow of the Tomb Raider is really jarring. The stealth in Shadow of the Tomb Raider it's cool, but after playing the stealth in Spider-Man, I'm like, you know what? I like that better.
And the stealth. Oh, sorry to mean to cut you off, but on the stealth in Tomb Raider, it is cool. But like I said in the review, there's not too many big times where you're fighting a bunch of enemies to where like you use it a lot. Like so, you try to when you do use it, it's cool. But there's that's the thing is they focus more on like Laura, not oh wait, we need to have her beating up Trinity throughout the whole entire game. Like you see them in different set pieces, but it's not like you get to fight them
I'm
a lot.
not good at stealth in any game.
No?
Every time I was like, unless I absolutely have to, I just go let me try and kill as many people as possible.
Stealth is not really an option in this game. Like when it's a stealth moment, you've got to do it stealth because you got a bow and arrow and they got AKs.
Yeah, and literally half the time it'll be like you're getting thrown into an area, you lose all your equipment. She magically finds bows and arrows like scattered in different places, but you lose your equipment. All you have is a knife, and it's like, all right, they have guns and stuff.
There was
so you gotta
that bit
take
that
them.
really bugged me when we were playing on Twitch. Like she gets like attacked by the Jaguar and like she gets scratched all up and down her back, and then all of a sudden she has
Like,
the bow
pulls
and
back the
arrow,
bow, and it's like,
and it
all
just
right.
like literally appeared in her hands. I'm like, all right. Yeah, it's a nitpicky thing, but you know you're up against games that have so much polish.
Yeah.
But visually though, like it's like beautiful, especially underwater play, especially when you do get to the civilization of Paititi and just overviewing everything.
So I know everyone's been freaking out about the Spider-Man photo mode because the photo mode in Spider-Man is great. Shadow of the Tomb Raider also has a photo mode. One of my favorite things that you can do with this, and this has been popping up over the internet, you can change the facial expression once you're in photo mode. And if you pause during one of the death animations, you can still change the facial expression to like a smiling selfie or something like that. So there's a bunch of photos out there of like an impaled Lara that's smiling at the camera.
What's up, guys? Oh, but
God.
I think that photo they had that photo had that photo mode on there, but like because on Spider-Man the PS4 game, they didn't have that available to the people until like the game dropped.
Yeah, it was
like,
a day one edition.
Yeah, we weren't able to do that, but that photo mode I think wasn't on there since like we got to download the game, but I never really fully utilized it because I was just trying to get through the story. But now I'm gonna go back because once you beat the game, like they add a new game plus, but they also like they put you back to the point that like a check mark where it's like, all right, this is where you can go back to all the other like your campsites and go back and go to the puzzles and stuff like that and the caves that you might have missed. So you can do that, but it's either do that or you can go back and try to fight the last couple challenges again.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you kind of a more broader question. So Tomb Raider, we know back in the day when it first came out, it was kind of a different vibe to it. And then it kind of, Tomb Raider as a franchise kind of slowly became less and less relevant.
Yeah.
Then they kind of, inspired by the Uncharted series, kind of rebooted the whole franchise. Is it still like Uncharted, or has it deviated enough where it's its own thing now?
So, I also touched on this, I think, in my review. Uncharted, this one did kind of remind me of Uncharted 4 in a way, mainly because they try to go back and give you Lara's her childhood and her past to flashbacks and stuff like that, and like show you like how she got inspired and like building more relationship with her father and stuff like that. So you get to see like more of that, and it did have that Uncharted 4 kind of feel, but I think it deviated more enough away. It was like, all right, this is its own thing, more trying to just trying to focus on Lara and her relationships with other people, but not necessarily like it's more about like treasure hunting and stuff like that.
Stealth,
I think they deviated more away from that.
The stealth sets it apart. The hub world sets it apart. They're not necessarily things that I like better, but there's enough derivation there that, like if you're really into the genre, then this feels like another good episode of a TV show you like. I will say character-wise, though, this is definitely a different Lara than we had from the 90s. And this is kind of a Lara that I think Nathan Drake would be scared of. Because Lara takes herself so seriously in this, which is a cool
she really
vibe.
She feels so responsible for like because the events that trigger that are all happening around her kind of are partly her fault, so she feels morally responsible for all these people, all the catastrophe she's she's caused on this town, this village, and now she's like, all right, I gotta.
And she's murderous.
Yeah,
in this game.
She doesn't play. I'm like, all right, damn Lord, because like especially the stealth mode, just come around, just stab.
Yeah.
Let me pull your body back real quick, hide you. Let me go to the next person. She is relentless throughout this game, and especially there's a technique when you're up in the trees, you can just shoot somebody down, bring their body up, like snap their neck, and then just leave them hanging up while you're just.
It's making up for all the brutal deaths that were in the 2013 version. Like that was the biggest thing about that the reboot is like how many brutal ways she can die.
Yes.
This is now the brutal ways that she can kill other people.
But when you do die, though, like
it's still brutal.
It's still brutal. Like I'll accidentally jump off a building or something. I think I did that at the beginning of the Twitch. Like I jumped off, just like fall into a pit of spikes. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
They actually show it too. It's like,
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to another game that hasn't come out yet. Call of Duty Black Ops 4. The beta has been running.
Yeah.
Now the Blackout Beta. I have not got a chance to play it yet because the Xbox One version
of the beta,
beta doesn't start until tomorrow, so I can't start playing it. Have you guys been playing it at all?
I played a bit on the PS4.
Okay.
I'm downloading it on the Xbox right now so that we can play a bit in the office tomorrow.
So y'all know, or the folks at home don't know, I have horrible Wi-Fi at my house. So I started downloading it last night. Said it would take like 6 or 7 hours. Wake up this morning, still like
6 or 7 hours.
4 or 5 hours. I have horrible Wi-Fi, but hopefully I'm gonna try to download it on the Xbox One tomorrow instead, so I can actually play it.
Yeah, bring it into the office and then we can play it here.
So what are your first impressions of it? Because obviously Battle Royale is very huge now with Player Underground, Fortnite, and everything.
Here we go.
Okay.
Everyone take this with a huge grain of salt because I am really bad at Battle Royale.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just because like I don't get it or it doesn't work for me. It's not all FPS. I am decent at other FPS, but for some reason like Battle Royale just doesn't click for me. So gameplay aside, and like mechanics aside, there are certain things about the Blackout that I was more excited about. I thought like maybe I'd get more into it because I like Call of Duty, and like maybe Blackout would be the way that I would be able to get into it. Exact opposite. Exact opposite. Call of Duty is normally such a fast-paced FPS, especially compared to something like Battlefield, which I've also been playing this weekend. And to have that in such a spread out map, have the map have, more realism like PUBG, and less like Fortnite, have the pickups of all your items be so goddamn slow, and eye triggered, and things like that. FOV doesn't feel great. It's little things like that I just there are different mechanics in this, and I've been more watching streams of people who are actually good at playing it to get a better idea, because it's the learning curve on Battle Royales is tough because you don't get an opportunity to learn if you die.
Yeah, you don't respawn, you don't get to
so I've been watching a lot of streams to kind of pick up on how I really feel about it. So again, huge grain of salt, but I'm not impressed.
So it's like, is it like on Fortnite? Can you camp around or anything and then just wait till like the top? There's only like certain people left, or is how?
Yeah, you can totally do that, but like the biggest things that are issues for me is like I don't feel like this map looks that great. I don't feel like this map interacts that great, and I don't think that there's certain things about like when you're looking out at a rise and you're scanning for people, the way that like the far off hills are being rendered, your eye is playing tricks on you and it feels like there's people there all the time, kind of thing. And it's like that those should be smooth lines. You shouldn't like it's not like a debayering issue, but it's and I'm trying to think of the right term, and I'm slightly talking out of my ass here. But all in all, I think that one of the reasons that Fortnite succeeded so much over PUBG is that if you have this, chunkier, blockier, cartoonier style, it actually makes the game a little more straightforward. And
so you can see your enemies more clearly.
Right.
They're not, oh, is that a tree? Is that a...
Yeah. Or is that a particle effect
Yes.
that's actually like really close to me and I just can't tell? That kind of thing. And 80 player on a map that size still feels lonely. And some of the best parts about Call of Duty is when you get your kills up close, and it just doesn't always happen that way in a battle royale. Battle royale is more like you see someone far away, and you guys slowly like make your way to each other while shooting, and like maybe you kill each other between then. But Call of Duty is my favorite part of it anyway. Is the close up kills.
So what about vehicle? Like, were you able to test out vehicles while playing, or was that even available?
Yeah, I mean, I was dropping into solos mostly. So vehicles are really for just getting to another point on the map. It's cool that they're there. What they do, none of the vehicles have, at least none that I found. Like even the helicopters and stuff like that, none of them have weapons from where you're piloting it.
So you always need somebody in there just to...
Yeah. Like if you're going to take advantage of that, which it would be overpowered as shit to give someone a helicopter and have them like fucking mow stuff down. You can kill someone with helicopter blades, though. I found out. That's fun.
We need to play. Okay, so Friday we'll
play it tomorrow.
We'll get a co-op.
So one question I have, because I've only played for Battle Royale, I've only played Fortnite. How does the first-person perspective work on a Battle Royale? Because the good thing about Fortnite is because it's a third person, you get to see a bigger view of the world.
That's probably what I was feeling with the FOV. Like, okay. I don't know why the FOV felt weird to me, and it's probably that. I hadn't considered the fact that Fortnite is third person. That's a good point.
Yeah, you get to see much more of the environment and the world, so it's easier to pick out stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So we'll all be playing it. I think this weekend. I tried to download it last night, but I guess they don't make it available until the beta starts.
I'm kind of voicing these opinions before the beta's over. I'm still going to jump in and play a bit more and like really get a good idea. Like I was playing the Battlefield beta this weekend, and I played a bunch of games. Like I immediately had my opinion and I was like, I want to talk about this, and then I played a bunch more games and I'm like, I have a new opinion and I'm glad I waited. So these are my knee-jerk reactions.
And you have that Battlefield 5 beta review, right?
Yeah. So that went up, and that was after I'd played everything.
But that's not their Firestorm Battle Royale.
No, that's not
mode.
Firestorm yet.
That's just a regular, team deathmatch or deathmatch.
Yeah, which is still 32 v 32. It's still big map, but I'm not sure how I feel about Firestorm, especially because after playing Call of Duty Blackout. I like that Battlefield is a slower paced game. It's more tactical. It's more about, knowing the team strategy, knowing overall what the team is doing rather than, being a solo player. In Firestorm, if they have a 50v50, I'm interested in that for sure. If they have squads and duos and singles, that I'm not as interested in that. Especially if you're going to have a World War II skin to everything, having singles or having duos really doesn't make sense. So I'm excited for a 50v50 in Firestorm, but other than
are there in Black Ops, is it just single squads or
it was single squads and duos. Okay. I don't think there was a 50v or a 40v40. It would have been. That doesn't mean that won't be in the final release of the game, but it wasn't in the beta when I was playing.
All right. Before we move on, we're gonna kind of get the big boss man in here to talk about his first impressions of Spider-Man. These are you two have finished the game. You guys have done a lot of the Easter eggs, a lot of the cool stuff. He's played it for I don't know how many hours, but he's got his impression. So here we go. Let's see what he has to say.
Marc, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
I know you've been playing a lot of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You got some thoughts on it?
Yeah, this is the OG crew right here.
Yes,
This is the first ever Collider Games podcast makeup.
I think we talked
Day
about
one.
E3.
This was the
our
loadout.
E3
Yeah.
coverage,
Yeah. This is the team comp. Yeah, but yeah, I've been playing Spider-Man. I started playing over the weekend.
Yeah.
When I got back from my trip, and I've been jamming through it. I think I'm level 11.
Okay.
Okay, so. I have some thoughts. On it. I've been playing Spider-Man games for a long time. Since the very first one that was for I believe the first open world Spider-Man game came out for the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2.
Was that no? Was it called Spider-Man 2? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That was the first New York traversal one.
Yeah. So obviously, like I remember being at E3 that year when they announced that one, and going up to the booth at the Sony booth, I believe, and just like geeking out on it and saying, "Wow!" Like, I was working at Rockstar at the time, so I was like, "This is the open world GTA, Spider-Man game," and of course, that got me very excited. And Spider-Man games have always had that undue pressure on them. I think that there's such a huge set of expectations around Spider-Man because he's such a beloved character and everything that the bar in your imagination is always so high, and sometimes when you actually turn on the joystick and get yourself ready for the game and are on the couch and are playing, you're like, it doesn't quite get to that fantasy that I had in my head. But look, this one is definitely the best one I've played. My personal favorite Spider-Man game before this one, and I'm not sure I'm ready to give the mantle to this one yet, was The Amazing Spider-Man by Beanox.
Right.
That came out in conjunction with the Andrew Garfield movie. And ironically enough, I was talking to about this with Joey yesterday. But is it just me, or does this Spider-Man look almost identical to Andrew Garfield?
Yeah, he's got the Andrew Garfield. He's a little beefier,
Mm-hmm.
but a little bit.
But the face and especially the hair.
I think they're trying to go because Andrew Garfield's character is a little bit older in the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. So I see what you're talking about. It kind of looks like him, kind of like a mix of him with a little younger Tom Holland, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look,
older than Tom Holland. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about older than Tobey Maguire. I'm like,
no,
I forgot that your Spider-Man movie experience is newer,
bro. Yeah, so I think I was 8 or 9 when I saw the
Tobey?
the Tobey Maguire one. I remember in theaters.
But the Tobey ones were great.
Yeah. I specifically remember when Green Goblin got when he stabbed himself in the stomach or whatever.
Right.
Started crying. They
The
had to
first
walk
Green
around.
Goblin, though, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Look, okay. So overall impressions of the game. The webbing is, the traversal around the town, the webbing around the city is damn cool and easy to pick up, difficult to master type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you really get that, I think, the first time that you have to chase down the Shocker. So I'm playing at amazing difficulty, which is the middle one, I believe.
I think
right?
so.
Yeah, there's friendly, there's amazing, and I forget what the other one's called, but
spectacular, superior,
or something like that. Yeah, so I'm playing amazing, and I got to say the game is pretty challenging. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or what, but the game is not. It's not super easy.
Mm-hmm.
I've died a ton of times. That first fight against the Kingpin, it took me a while to get into a groove. I must have wiped on that fight 5 times.
I think
6 times.
I got 3 or 4 because we Twitch streamed it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I put myself on the hardest.
Yeah,
mode,
you were
and
playing
I
on
was getting my
Spectacular.
shit. It was ridiculous.
It's tough. It's a tough game.
You know what? I think it's one of those games where you start to get greedy because we were seeing this in Shadow of the Tomb Raider the other night as well, doing the boss fights. You have. They're coming at you, and you've got to take your shots while they're coming at you. And if you take one shot too many, then you don't have time to dodge or you don't have time to get out of the way. Mm-hmm. And if you get greedy, then that's if you stay away from that and you play a little more conservatively, then the flow starts to come together.
Yeah, look, and you nailed it there. The combat in this game is all about flow, and it's all about really knowing how to balance your attacks with your counters, with your dodges, with your environmental manipulations and stuff like that. And once all these things start to come together, the combat becomes pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. I would say that the combat is trying to mimic the groundwork of the Batman Arkham series. And I think for the first time, they might have gotten better than the Arkham in terms of combat. We haven't seen an Arkham game in a long time. But the combos are strong. The ability to manage 5 or 6 enemies at a time is really, really sophisticated. So the game mechanics from a combat perspective are impressive, you know. The graphics of the game are gorgeous. The city is absolutely gorgeous. I can't believe how big it is. I mean, it's just gigantic. Absolutely gigantic.
You feel like there's a but, like you.
Yeah, there's a but. There's a but. I just feel like, and there's two complaints that I have with the game.
Okay.
Number one, I still haven't seen anything I haven't seen before. And that's probably my biggest complaint with it.
Are you talking gameplay wise? Are you talking story wise?
I'm talking everything wise.
Okay.
Like the story wise, it's interesting you bring up the story because I do agree with you relative to superhero games. They're pushing the story in an interesting way. And actually, the story reminds me of a poor man's version of the Knights of the Old Republic story.
Okay.
And this is non-spoiler, right?
Yeah, non-spoiler. Yeah, let's keep it non-spoiler.
Okay, so to keep it non-spoiler, there is a shadow of Knights of the Old Republic in the storytelling, and if you know what the Knights of the Old Republic story is, then you can maybe start to connect some dots anyway, which might be a little spoilery. But so I do see, like, you know, having been in the game design process before, and even Joey now that Joey and I are making a game together, you're starting to pick up some, like, when you're making games, there's like a lot of times you fall back and you say, okay, this is the game that we want to make. How do we look at the industry and get inspiration for certain things that we want to do?
Yeah.
You know? And obviously the game itself is the old PS2 Spider-Man 2 game that became the Beanox game, that became the Amazing Spider-Man, that became Spider-Man 2, and then I believe there's another open world traversal game called the Ultimate Spider-Man or something like that. There's 4 of them, right? That's still the game, right? Like, there's not a lot that has changed from that. The story element is a little bit more in depth than it was in the Amazing Spider-Man, which is kind of a flat story. And you could tell that also there's a huge influence, gigantic influence from Spider-Man Homecoming. You know?
Yeah.
The aesthetic of Spider-Man Homecoming, from the music to the humor, to the human side, to the relationship with Aunt May, like all of these things are making, you can tell there's very, very strong efforts to bring in that beautiful kind of aesthetic from Homecoming into the game.
Well, I think Homecoming tapped in on, you know, what makes Spider-Man and what makes Peter Parker different from, you know, everything else that Marvel has. And so, like, once someone's latched onto that, it makes sense to keep on going with that. You know, you don't want to try and reinvent that wheel every time. And there are so many things that were great about the Beanox game, about Web of Shadows, about Shattered Dimensions, that people got right. And it's like, you don't want to deny the fact that these games contributed something. They got something right, and by trying to reinvent it.
Absolutely. Everything you're saying is absolutely true and logical, but there is a downside to it. And the downside to it is that the big critique with these other games is that they're gigantic grinds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man, I'm at level 11. So, look, I'm only at the beginning, right? I'm only at level 11. How many levels do you get to?
Like
50 was the max.
Something.
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm about a little less than a quarter of the way through, right? I'm about 15% of the way through the game. And I'm already like, man, this is a grind. This is a grind.
I was talking to Copster about it today because he just unlocked like a new thing to go do on the map, like a new unlockable.
Right.
And I was like, dude, yeah, they start piling up. That map starts getting really full.
Yeah,
and he's like, no, I needed it. I needed it because I had already completed, you know, the pigeons. I'd already completed the backpacks. I'd already completed the Black Cat stuff. And I was like, I had not even considered playing the game like that. I barreled through the story, especially because, like, this is just part of the way I play games is, like, when the story says that something's urgent, I don't go, well, I'm going to do 6 side missions because that doesn't actually,
Absolutely.
like, I like playing in that same thing.
I'm the same way because the story is the premier content, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, one thing I actually want to ask, just more as like as somebody who's playing the game. So my whole thing is I want to unlock the Homecoming suit, right?
You should be available now that you get it at level 9, right?
You get a level 10, so it is available, and I have all the tokens for it, with the exception of the base token. What's the base token? When do you start getting the base tokens?
So I think that's when you're taking down either Kingpin's people,
Fisk or
the demons,
but it's an unlock that just hasn't happened yet.
No, because you should already be able to go and take out Kingpin's lairs. Like that should be one of the things that you have on the map.
I don't see it on the map.
Have you been unlocking like the cellular towers everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be it should pop up, and you either go to, I think it's going to be at the beginning, it'll be more of the Kingpin ones where they're on a construction site.
Right.
Yeah.
So then again, okay, so let's take that into example, because that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So now you got to go take down a Kingpin lair. That's a grind fest. It's just like, here's 50 enemies, and you know you're going to be able to take them out.
Right.
Like, there's not like you're not going to be able to take them out. There's no progression challenge other than, let me get this little token so I can get the suit. Like, the challenge is grindy, you know? And like when I mean grindy, it's like in World of Warcraft when you just have to go out there and kill boards, you know?
The enemies roundabout where you are, you don't end up seeing any new enemies. Like, you've already seen the heavies. You've already seen the guys with, the stun batons or...
crowbars.
Yeah, crowbars. You've seen the guys with shields.
Yeah.
You've seen the guys with certain powers like the whips and stuff like that. And once you've seen all those, there's nothing new until you start hitting boss fights.
Right. And the boss fights
and
for
maybe
the mechanics.
like some of the Taskmaster stuff. But
what's the Taskmaster stuff?
So that's another unlockable... scattered around the map. At some point, you find a box, kind of spoilery, but not spoilery for the main story, so I'm going to keep on going. At one point, you find like a chest on top of a building, and that chest is one of Taskmaster's chests, and he has a bunch of challenges for Spider-Man to, test Spider-Man's metal.
Gotcha.
It's, tracking down bombs and defusing them, combat challenges, which is basically more, I'm going to throw 50 guys at you.
Right.
Take them out. Or there's some stealth challenges, which the stealth challenges are kind of fun.
The stealth has actually been pretty interesting. It's funny you mentioned that. The stealth, there's this one level where you're trying to help out Mary Jane, and the level only lets you do it in stealth without giving any of the story away. Mm-hmm. And I actually found that to be one of the most fulfilling levels, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Hitman. I was a big fan of Metal Gear Solid. So, like, good stealth is fun to play.
Yeah.
One of the most grindy side mission things that I was just like, come on, guys, like, what the hell is this? Is that weird? How do you get the research tokens?
Oh yeah. With Harry Osborn. Or
yeah.
Oh
my God, you gotta
I've only done 2 of those.
And you gotta swing through the smog.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's a grind fest.
That's
You're
probably
like,
that's the least amount of tokens
They try
I have.
and like vary them up enough, because there are some of those that are kind of interesting and like quirky and funny eventually. But
so it's not just swing through the smog.
Yeah, not all of them are swing through the smog.
Okay.
But
Some of them
are
are different. Like there's one where you're like, there's like cell tower interference or radio tower interference, and like you're trying to stop it from getting too high, but your suit is being affected by it. So you've got this, like, you're swinging from point to point, but you can't go higher than this and you can't go lower than this, and you can see it like as it moves. So it gives like a new challenge to some stuff. But I as someone who's completed all of them, I can't say that it's not a grind.
Yeah. And the other thing that I thought was actually cool that I haven't seen pop up again was more of that BioShock style puzzle element of the circuit fixing and stuff like that.
I hate that.
That'll pop up.
Yeah,
that'll pop up again.
That'll pop up again.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
I mean, look, all in all, I'm a gigantic Spider-Man fan. So just swinging through the city and being Spidey is worth for me the $60, even though I paid $80 because I got the digital deluxe edition.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen one benefit out of getting that yet.
No, okay? You were saying, like, for some reason the suits didn't unlock or something like that.
I mean, like, I have suits, like the noir suit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
which one are you using right now?
Right now, I'm using like the Nike, like I call it the Just Do It suit. It's like the Spidey Nike suit,
the black and yellow one.
No,
the with the white.
Yeah, like the white,
the advanced suit. Yeah.
I want the Homecoming suit. Does it look good when you're actually playing with it?
Yeah, it's dope. Somebody used the Homecoming suit and did photograph mode, like capturing the wall, like the poster that they used for the actual movie.
Oh,
and
nice.
honestly,
like recreated it?
Yeah, it looks better in the actual game.
What suit are you using?
Right now, I think I switched to I'm still using the Iron Spider suit. The one that from
Infinity War.
Yeah,
because
I'm on that one.
like the claws come out.
The legs.
Yeah. Well, you can put that power on any other suit if you want to.
Huh.
Like, because you have to unlock.
The powers are interchangeable, right?
Yeah. So the Homecoming suit comes with a really cool
Spider Bro.
Yeah, Spider Bro.
Yeah.
That's it's good suit power.
Yeah. Which suit are you using the most?
The vintage suit. The
one that you start the game with.
No. There's a later unlock, and it's this.
It's like animated.
It's almost like 2D cell shaded look.
Yeah.
And it just, especially at night, swinging around, it looks like the old '90s cartoon.
Nice.
Because the '90s cartoon had the cities animated in 3D and everything 2D on top of it, so it's got that feel.
I want to use that one, but I have to I have 2 other tokens I need to fucking get before I can.
You got to grind for the tokens.
Right, you're talking about the Neil Patrick Harris suit.
No. It's kind of reverse of that. So it's the 2D animation from like the early '90s cartoon.
Yeah, with Neil Patrick Harris as the voice, right?
No, because that was the MTV one. That
was before that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it's actually more based off of like '80s comics.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's a real cell shaded look.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm dying to get the Homecoming suit on, and I like the Spider-Man. Like, we should talk about that for a minute, because to me, Spider-Man was always the coolest. Because he was a kid, right? And
right.
And like when I was growing up, I was like, oh, this, I can be a superhero, and I don't have to like. It's not like when you're young, you always say, when I grow up, I want to be X, Y, or Z.
Right.
You know? Spider-Man broke that gap and told you, no, you can be X, Y, or Z right now. So I've always been partial to the younger Spider-Man. I think that's one of the big reasons why Homecoming was such a personal. It's my favorite Spider-Man movie. I actually think it might be. I think it's my second favorite MCU movie. Period.
Damn. It's in my top 5, but I don't know about 2.
I think number 1 is Civil War. Number 2 is probably Spidey.
We're gonna have to do another top 50 at this point.
Yeah. The original Avengers, Black Panther are in the mix. Ant-Man is in the mix.
I was about to say, don't you like? Yeah, Ant-Man's on.
Yeah.
It's in my top. I think top 7 or.
But anyway, Spider-Man. I saw Spider-Man before it came out in the theaters 4 times. Like Joey remembers.
Oh wow!
This.
Yeah.
I was just obsessed with it. I mean, before it even came out in the cinema, you know how it is. We here at Collider, we have access to all these movies. I don't go see a lot of the movies, but with Spider-Man, it was I would take tickets from other people. Sorry, you're not going. I'm going again.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was. I loved it that much. But so anyway, to talk about the kid who plays Spider-Man in this, I got to admit. Look, and these are all just personal opinions, okay?
Sure.
This doesn't reflect how we all feel. We love Sony. We love this game. All these things. I didn't love the choice of making him look so much like Andrew Garfield. I think it's obvious that he looks like Andrew Garfield. Mm-hmm. The actor himself, there's this one scene where the Shocker tells him, hey, you talk too much. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he just goes off and do you talk too much because you mean I'm saying this? And so he's obviously trolling him and talking even more. And it's funny, but I don't get that Tom Holland humor out of him. But it's a video game, right? So how much can you actually expect? But the performance of the Spider-Man at times, I'm like, wow, this is great. At other times, I'm like, it's falling a little flat for me. I actually surprisingly really like Mary Jane. I think Mary Jane's actually really cool in it. I like Doc Ock. I think Doc Ock is a cool mentor. I actually, Jeremy Johns and I were talking because he's been playing it nonstop as well, and he's almost at the end. And he told me he actually gave me a little spoilery thing about Doc Ock, which was actually surprising to me. I guess we can't really talk about it, but it was a little surprising to me that they went in that direction with it. But I like the Doc Ock character. I like this relationship, and I didn't even know this because I guess I haven't read this in the comics, but the relationship between Spider-Man and the Shocker was interesting to me. Like when you're chasing him down,
right?
And he's I can try, or he's trying to help him. Hey, just let we can work something out.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Like I like that vibe, you know. Like it seems like a little bit more personal. Like, hey, like just tell me what's going on because I don't want to have to punch it out of you.
Right,
and
like I think there are certain times that Batman has that, although he usually resorts to punching it out of people. And like there's great moments where like the Flash used to have that in like Justice League in the animated series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool moment that you get out of certain superheroes. But yeah, no, I think the performances in this are really good, especially when you consider the fact that they're, performance capture, and it's not just you looking right at an actor's face.
It's
really
well
going
done
through
game.
a computer, through performance capture stage and all that.
No, look, it's a really well done game.
I'm excited for you to play the ending, play the third.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna power through it. Mainly because I want to get the suits, because I'm hoping that the symbiote suit is in the mix, right?
Well, we've got a video on all the suits on the Collider Games channel, and you can check it out.
All right, cool. I mean, look, I'm hoping all this, like some of my favorites are there. But look, it's a cool game. I'm digging it. I guess really what I'm trying to say, just to be blunt, is Insomniac is a great developer. Insomniac is also one of the premier VR developers out there.
That's right. Yeah.
They're ahead of the curve in VR development. Give me this game in VR.
Spider-Man VR, that'd be dope.
Yeah. Give me this same exact game. Give it to me in VR. There's actually a great scene. Maybe my favorite scene in the game so far is the relationship between you and this cop that girl kind of connects you with. And you guys are
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I forgot the name of the cop, but you guys are in this little warehouse, and he meets you there, and he's helping you out, and at the very end, you're there's this great scene where
Jefferson Davis, yeah,
yeah. You're at the scene, and then he comes in the cop car and smashes the guy away, man, when I was watching, I was wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's where you're at right now.
No. I already passed that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm past that. But I was man, this would have been incredible in VR.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff is done in cutscenes. In VR, you could be had stopped that thing and then turn around and you see the car smash.
So is VR at a point where we could have something like swinging? Because
Absolutely.
one of the biggest things is motion sickness and things like that with VR.
Yes. And look, and I, speaking of the games channel, I did a whole thing on Marvel Powers United VR.
That's right, yeah.
Which is incredible. Look, the game is very one-dimensional because it's a dungeon crawler, essentially, right? It's you get one dungeon, 4 players, beat the dungeon, beat the boss, beat 2 bosses, next. It's rinse and repeat type of game mechanic. It doesn't have all the narrative elements that Spider-Man has, but it feels also grindy. But the fact that you're inside VR just elevates it to the next level.
Right.
Because it makes it completely it's completely more immersive. We should actually there's a way that okay, I shouldn't say that. I should bring in my Rift, and
we should play some of it.
And we should play some of it.
Okay.
For sure.
And you guys should try. We should do a video on it because there's this huge controversy online right now. Huge. I mean, it's between 10 people, but it's between us heavy-duty VR heads.
Is this whether you can swing or not?
Whether you can swing or not. And I'm on the camp that you can absolutely swing. In United Powers VR, you can swing. I'd love for you guys to test it out and say, is this swinging or not swinging?
I'm down.
Because, man, it's so friggin' cool. It's more like, in Spider-Man when you're looking at the things and you see the little circle and you can zip line to it.
Yeah.
It's more zip line than it is swinging. But that's pretty damn good too.
That's honestly, yeah, that's pretty great. And I'm sure there are people when you say that you want this Spider-Man game in VR, there are people that are looking at us going, how the hell would that happen? It's a third-person game. There's so much traversal and things like that. But we played that Arkham VR game that was based in the world that Rocksteady created.
I like that game.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different experience.
There's no combat in it.
Yeah. But I mean, to see Insomniac put out something like that, I'd be interested to see that. Just a little extension to the narrative.
But I think you can turn this whole friggin' game into a VR thing. I really do. I think it's actually easy to do. I think the combat obviously would be the most challenging part of it.
Yeah.
But look, let's just do it. Like let's set up the Rift. Let's set up Marvel Powers United VR. Let's do a video. Let's play a few of the characters. Let's play the Hulk. Let's play Storm. Let's play Black Panther. Let's play Rocket. Let's play Spidey.
Deadpool.
Oh, Deadpool is one of my favorites in it because Deadpool could do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like you forget that Deadpool has swords, has guns. Like he's range, he's melee, he's everything. He just can't fly. That's the one thing he can't do is fly. But anyway, look. All in all, I'm a little grumpy.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting for that clear-cut next step of the evolution of a Spider-Man game. But then again, to your point, like, we're kind of spoiled, I guess. You know? It's like that Louis C.K. joke when you're flying, and like people complaining, like when you're on an airplane, that the internet is bad. It's like look, like
no, I get what you mean.
Like you're flying at 700 miles an hour.
I think once you get past the point where you're at and you start getting really into the story, especially when they introduce Miles, because they give you like a origin story for another Spider-Man within Miles. Like you follow his journey as he becomes.
Oh, really?
I think the game's strengths are in the third act.
Yeah.
Like I think in the same way that like when we had Homecoming and this was a completely different origin story for Spider-Man, and it was like, the pieces are all the same. We're just bringing them to you in a different way, and that's what's making this interesting. It's that same kind of vibe of where, little things like Osborn is mayor and
Oh,
like
that was
MJ
a cool
is a
scene
reporter.
Too. That was a cool scene, like Osborn coming in and like taking all of Doc Ock's things, and even that scene of Doc Ock giving that war veteran the
arm,
the arm. I thought that was a really touching scene. The storytelling might be the best part of the game so far.
I definitely think
that in our review. Yeah,
that's what puts it. That's what sets it apart from the other Spider-Man games for sure.
Yeah. Because the game mechanics, I've seen them all before.
Yes, maybe not all at the same time. But now we're getting them all at the same time, and I appreciate that. How do you have time to play this at all with Battle for Azeroth going as well?
Yeah, I know. Look, unfortunately, I actually have to step out, but
to play some more Battle of Azeroth.
Battle of Azeroth. But yeah, I actually wanted to get on here and give some tips and some secrets for those people that are playing, that are trying to like get to higher eye level. So eye level is different than level. Eye level is like the level of your gear, like how good your gear is. I have found some incredible shortcuts to get from like 270 to like 320 in like literally one play session. And I wanted to actually talk about that because it's like a little trick that I've discovered on my own that anybody out there playing WoW, you're at a low eye level, it's actually really easy to get to 320 and start doing pretty good end game stuff. But anyway, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time. But look, it's Spider-Man week. I'm stoked about the game. Joey and I we're talking about this. All good video game combat. It's really good combat when it starts to turn into kind of a ballet and a dance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like for me, Dead or Alive 2 probably did it better than any other game I've ever played, where the button mashing becomes like the Matrix, and you're almost in slow motion mashing. And this game has the potential for that. I'm not there yet. Like I'm not great at it yet, but it's getting a little easier because I'm telling you, the first 3 or 4 fights were friggin' difficult. Like I had a tough time with it.
Start mixing in some like web gadgets and stuff like that. Yeah. That refreshes it a a bit.
And have you been upgrading your skills on the side as you go along?
Yeah. I have been.
It's like especially by the end, like once you have like all of it unlocked, it's a whole nother.
It's a whole other thing, right? Yeah. So look, anyway, I look forward to playing more, but let's definitely try to set up something with Marvel Powers United VR and answer the question: can you swing or not swing in VR?
Let's find out. For now, let's bring Dennis back in here, and we'll get back to another segment of the Collider Games podcast.
All right, thanks, Joey. You tossing back to me. So that was interesting. So Marc had a lot to say, differing opinions than you guys about Spider-Man. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he just needs to play it all the way through, and maybe he'll change his mind.
I think so.
Not that he didn't like it or enjoy it. I guess maybe he was expecting more. Maybe that more is later on.
And
in
I'm
that
honestly
game.
like this year. I'm honestly really preparing for differing opinions when it comes to the top 5 games. You know, like I am fully prepared for. You know, I think Spider-Man is going to be Game of the Year.
Okay.
Or I don't actually think it's going to be Game of the Year. I think it should be Game of the Year.
Okay.
I am fully prepared for people to say God of War should be Game of the Year. I think it probably will be Game of the Year, and I think that there are plenty of valid arguments for it being Game of the Year. My personal take, I prefer Spider-Man.
Okay.
And I think it's going to happen with there's going to be people making an argument for Detroit. There's going to be people making an argument for Red Dead. There's probably going to be people making an argument for Odyssey or Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I don't know who those people are, but you know, like let's have a conversation about it because like we're so spoiled this year with such great games that you know I'm happy to appreciate all of them.
I'm kind of glad that God of War came out earlier, like stayed away from like this massive like rush we're getting at the end now. But I think we said it on the Twitch yesterday that maybe they should do something to like remind people like, hey, God of War is still like it should be a contender for this year. Like throw something, I don't know what we said, like maybe like a new, I don't know, like add a new feature or a new DLC or something for that, just because it has been out for so long.
Just needs a little reminder.
For people to like remind them like, hey, like that, like we're still we're in this year.
Yeah, it's like an Oscar. It's like the Oscars, right? When you have a movie,
campaign.
You have a good movie that you think could be an Oscar contender, but it's too early in the year. You got to do something to remind the Academy later on, because most of the Academy movies come out in that like October, November, December time period. And you know, we talked about this I think on the last podcast about how my one complaint about games is that they're all coming out from September to December.
Right.
It's all the big games. Like we had like God of War and maybe a few others, but generally we're getting hit with what Spider-Man just came out, and we're gonna get to Call of Duty, Black Ops. We're gonna get Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Fallout 76, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, that's right.
There's going to be all these games coming out in the next few months. Speaking of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they released a lot of people released videos of them doing the romance quests.
Oh yeah. I saw GameSpot posted some playthrough of that.
Yeah, I watched the GameSpot one. I watched the IGN one. Assassin's Creed is slowly becoming more and more like Mass Effect, like in the sense of it's becoming more and more like an RPG. Now they have these romance where they showed this female Odessa, and then you can get with her even if you're Cassandra, the female. If you pick the male or the male or the female, and you can get with her. It's very interesting the way they did it. How did you guys take the kind of romance options in this game?
I didn't even get to see that.
No, okay. Well, let me jump in then. This is actually one of the things that made me interested in this game. Not because they're introducing
the women on women relationships.
Yes, that's what I've been looking for in games. No, it's because they're doing something that is not been in an Assassin's Creed before, because they're doing something that deviates from the Assassin's Creed style. You know, I already had my problems with this just being an Assassin's Creed game because it's so much of a far cry from what everything originally was. But the more this pushes away from being Assassin's Creed, like what Ezio and Altair were, the more it pushes away from that, the more I'm starting to accept the fact that Assassin's Creed as a franchise is bigger than the original Assassins. And that's making, like, I don't think the romance options are a good choice, but I like that they're making this franchise bigger.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, if you're going to have romance options in a game set in ancient Greece, then there are a lot of things about ancient Greece that you're not addressing. But, you know, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know people will be like, ooh, a relationship. Yeah, they sleep with each other. But it's they fade to black. It's like let's go have sex, and then it fades to black, and then they come back and like, oh, that was great.
Yes, and this is a game set in a time where they had public orgies.
Yes.
So I see a disconnect there. But they
still want parents to buy this game for kids,
which is why I would have avoided this entirely.
Yeah, it's interesting too, and it's the way they say it though. In the dialogue options, it's like they're trying to tiptoe around, like sex or whatever. There's like, let's have some fun together. Yeah. Let's, I know what we can do for the next few hours. Like that's the type of thing. The weird, creepy thing about it is that the character, whether you choose Cassandra,
said no 6 times.
Yeah. They kind of like have your character kind of be really like aggressive in terms if you want to like, hey, let's go whatever, and then the other character Odessa in this example was like, well, I can't really right now because I got to do this. Why don't you go do these quests? It's like almost like you're exchanging errands for sex, and then you got to go do this stuff, and then you come back. You're like, hey, I did it all. Hey, let's go sleep together.
This is a list of times that I respected you.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, well, not right now, and then eventually, you do. It's just funny.
I mean, this is ancient Greece. I don't think it would be that polite.
Yeah.
If Homer has taught us anything, it is that it wouldn't be.
Somebody in the comments was like, romance without nudity. Come on, Ubisoft or something.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
But I'm
because they were comparing it to Witcher too. Or Witcher as well, not specifically Witcher 2. Which does have romance options. You are developing those characters a little bit more, but this felt like it was like the people that you were actually going to romance didn't actually matter.
Yeah.
They were more just like you were saying, like fetch quest NPCs, and that your reward for doing the fetch quests was you get to see a fade to black, which.
There was kissing. No, there was kissing.
But I mean, if you're not going to develop a story around it, then we're at a point where that's not a reward. There was a time in gaming where that was a reward, like that counted.
Yeah.
We're not there anymore. Yeah. I want to see some story out of this. I want to see like an actual reason for there to be a relationship, or I want to see a NPC that you're talking to that you can get fetch quests from that is not about sex. Either or, not like this halfway.
But I'm with you in the sense because I do think this is a departure from Assassin's Creed. Really, it's like the Assassin's Creed engine.
Yeah,
with that with a different storyline that he just happened to plot. Like if Ubisoft came out with a game just called Odyssey. Or whatever.
Exactly.
This is kind of what it would be. It didn't have to. They're just using Assassin's Creed so they can
market it.
Yeah, to market it, right? It's like anytime you have Steven Spielberg presents on a movie or Quentin Tarantino presents. It's like they really didn't have even though
and putting the Assassin's Creed name on it would stop people going, oh, this is basically just Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, I see more similarities to like, especially like looking at the combat. The combat, I loved everything that we saw from the combat. The blink dagger, it's a little weird, but the shield disarm and stuff like that. I almost see a little bit of like For Honor in the combat. Maybe it's just because it's sword and shield combat, but I see a little bit of that in there, like a faster For Honor. And I do like the almost in the way like in the movie Troy you see like Brad Pitt's fighting style is totally different than all like the legions and stuff like that. And
side note, I actually I've seen Troy.
Whoa, we've had a movie that you've seen.
I just want to make sure people I've seen Troy.
But anyway. Like you know what I'm talking about, where he's got like he's faster than all of them, and then that's what makes people think he's godly.
And I played I got to play some of the combat at E3. That was probably the highlight for me because I got to test out Odyssey a little bit at the before I left. So the action, like the combat, I can't remember what exactly the buttons were, but like it was dope, especially because they incorporate like you said, the shield disarming and stuff like that. Because I had to fight this tall ass dude and like beat the shit out of me, but it was cool.
I think the game looks gorgeous. I'm really looking forward. I may be, at some points of the game, just walking my character around so I can look at the environments. It looks fantastic.
And we might very well be missing out on, some bits of the story that they haven't shown yet or anything like that. But, I'm a little more optimistic than I was at the announcement.
Yeah. I also saw some gameplay footage of the boat battles.
Yeah.
It's different than Black Flag because in Roman times the technology is different. So apparently your boat is slower, and not only that, like you're not shooting cannons, right? You have your team of people like shooting like flaming arrows or throwing spears and whatnot, but not like you can fire. There's no gunpowder, so you're not like firing any type. So it's gonna be interesting.
There is still boarding though, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
I found that part like because I played the boating part as well. I found that part kind of difficult just to try to maneuver the boat because you can like try to ram into them as well, and like you have to get kind of decently close to them to shoot the arrows. But that was my least favorite part of it, just because I suck at driving and stuff in general.
I suck at driving too, but I actually had a lot of fun doing the boat battles in Black Flag. I thought that was a lot of fun. I'm just wondering if this has to be like a pared down version of it, and I don't know. Also, within the context of the game, how important is it to actually, go on the boats and whatnot? All right, let's move on to Destiny Forsaken. Joey, is this something you've been playing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of betas came out, and we were playing some Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well. Destiny, I've been trying to play through, and I haven't finished it yet. And part of it is because, here's the thing. A lot of people already say that Destiny 2 is a dead game, and that it's not worth covering because not enough people play it. I still play it. I still like it. I'm going to talk about it. The story that we get out of Forsaken, the coolest parts, I think so far the coolest parts are in the trailers. The coolest parts are the death of Cade and the initiation of the story. Right after that, you go into meeting this guy that's like, oh, I don't fully trust you yet. Go do 5 of these bounty quests so that I can trust you. Oh, I trust you now. I'll tell you the location of these 8 people that you need to kill. They're scattered around the map. You need to go kill these 8 people. And so I'm like halfway through killing those people. And then from there, it's going to eventually go into the fight with Aldrin Sov and, the story of avenging Cade. But so far, and there are plenty of people who out there who have beaten this and, can probably tell me different about the end. But it's pretty grindy right in the middle. Yeah. There's some fetch quests. I do like the new supers. I mainly play Hunter. The new Solar Hunter is awesome. The new Void Hunter is fucking gnarly. My wife has been playing Warlock, and she's now an Arc Warlock and is loving it. And the raid is I think it comes out this week. So that's going to be a new addition. It's mainly been that I feel like the weapons got better. The menus, they came in and revamped menus and stuff like that. And everything became a little easier to organize, and it became easier to when it's the kind of game where you're leveling up and you might have a gun that you really like, but you're starting to out-level the gun, in that kind of situation, and you're like, I don't want to give this up, but I have to. There's now a new system where you can recreate old stuff closer to your level. So as long as you've found it once in your game, you can recreate it from the collections menu, which is a really cool thing. And especially when you get certain things, like you're switching over to a different subclass and you're like, oh, I used to have that piece that was really good for this subclass when I was level 12. And, I'm level 45 now, so I need to, recreate that. That's an option. You can do that. And if you haven't played Destiny, it is now, I think it's free in a lot of places. On
the PlayStation
Plus. PlayStation Plus. Xbox Game Pass and things like that. The 2 DLCs, Warmind and the other one, Call of Osiris, that you need for Forsaken are also free. And then Forsaken's $40, so you can get everything for $40. And then when you get that, what you can do is if you don't want to play through everything, you just want to catch up to where everyone else is, you can level it, like you can immediately boost a character to light level 320, level 25 or level 30 or whatever it is. But, you know, in a similar way that you can do with WoW when they come out with a new expansion. So, yeah, ultimately, I have not gotten $40 worth of game out of this. And a lot of it feels like the best patch I've ever seen. Like the redesign of the menus, the added weapons, some of the new stuff that comes out of that. It feels like a really, really good patch.
Yeah. Not a $40 game.
Not a $40 game.
If you had to put a price on it.
Not a $40 DLC.
Oh.
Now, that being said, if you've never played Destiny 2, I would buy it right now for
so you can get all the
everything with the 3 DLCs for $40. Yeah, that seems totally worth it to me. But if you bought it day one and then you bought this day one and you're like $100 deep into this game, yeah.
What price would you put on it?
On everything?
Or just
if you already had owned everything and you only wanted to add this.
I would have wanted to so far I would have wanted to spend $20 on this.
Okay.
But the raid hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
But the raids in Destiny, you kind of need 6 people.
Okay.
I tried the other one with 5 and we were kind of under leveled. And it was really fun. But a lot of that fun comes with playing with friends. So I don't know if I'm going to get to this raid, just because getting 6 people online at the same time on the same console at the same light level is tough. But so in my head, the raid is not worth another $20. Yeah. But it is. I mean, it's cool. Yeah. The stuff is cool. I don't think I would have paid $40 for it.
All right, let's move on to the last one. I threw this in here just because I'm such a big fan of Alan Wake.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Wake from Remedy Games. It's been reported by Variety that there's going to be a live-action television adaptation, and it's in development. They're not saying what network is going to do it, but Sam Lake, who kind of oversaw, it was his creation, I think, of Alan Wake. He's going to be the executive producer. They're also getting Peter Calloway, who is a writer, I think, on Cloak and Dagger and Legion. He's going to serve as the writer on the Alan Wake TV show, it's actually interesting because there was Alan Wake, and then they had the DLC, American Nightmares. There has not been, everyone like me, who's like a fan of the series, wants a second game, but they haven't announced anything. But it seems like this seems more likely to come out before an Alan Wake 2. I think strictly because the game was the way that it was made was basically like a television series. The first game was literally cut up in episodes. It was, I think, 6 episodes, and the way you played it and just visually, that's what drew me in. The gameplay itself was fun and fine, but it wasn't anything like you hadn't seen before.
I'm not too familiar with Alan Wake. What is it?
It's from Remedy Games, who did Max Payne,
right?
And it's like a third person, I'd say, action adventure shooter. It's kind of a supernatural Twin Peaks vibe. It's set in Washington State, in kind of like a woodsy, mountainous area. And Alan Wake's a writer who goes up there because he's got writer's block and he wants to write his story. And he's with his girlfriend. His girlfriend gets taken away, but it's a lot of supernatural stuff going on. Most of the game is set at nighttime. You have a flashlight. I mean, at first people were joking about the game because they're like, okay, you got a flashlight as a weapon, but there's a reason, because you use it to kind of burn the enemies and then you take out your gun and shoot them.
In a pitch black kind of way.
Yeah. So it's actually a lot of fun, and they just the way that they do the storylines and stuff is it's very, it's like there's a big mystery and stuff like to it. So anyways, it's just very ripe for a television adaptation. They actually did a web series called Bright Falls, and it was a prequel to the game, and they shot on the Red camera. It was like very well done. I think you can watch it on YouTube still. It's like a good, like if you took all the episodes together, I think it was like 6 episodes. Yeah. It ends up being kind of like a 30-minute, short film or whatever. And it's a that one actually doesn't have Alan Wake in it. It's about a newspaper reporter that goes there, kind of asking questions about him and whatnot, and learning about the town and everything. So yeah, it's something that I will be looking forward to. I just hope
we're looking at getting a lot of video game to TV adaptations.
Yeah, I mean maybe that's the way to go. I mean we've talked about how movies have kind of been not very good for video games, and I still believe that they can make a good video game movie, but maybe television series formats work better. I mean, we got the Halo, The Witcher, you got this, Alan Wake. I'm sure there's a few other stuff going in development. We had the Castlevania animated one. We talked about the rumor of the Diablo animated series as well. So maybe television is the route to go for video games.
And Peter Calloway, or the writer, I'm not too familiar with Alan Wake, but if he's writing on Cloak and Dagger and Legion, I think those are two of the most underrated, like higher performing Marvel shows. Like just from a visual standpoint, just written standpoint, I think honestly Cloak and Dagger right now for me is one of the, if not the #1 Marvel TV show. So and it's really underrated. So if you're getting a guy like that to do a video game series, I'm pretty excited to see what he does. So I'll definitely try to tune in.
Yeah, nice. Cloak and Dagger is what, on Freeform?
Yeah, it's on Freeform. It's about they wrapped up season 2 season 1 a month ago.
I need to catch up on
really good.
I need to catch up on that and Runaways because I just got Hulu, so I need to watch Runaways.
Yeah, I mean the fact that you guys have time for TV on top of video games is astounding to me. I'm still like mired in I've got a backlog of games.
Yeah. Well, I don't play as many games as you do, so. All right. Before we sign off, is there any things you guys want to talk about? Any game news or games that you're playing right now that like jump out at you?
No, just trying to. I gotta. Hopefully, when I get home, the Blackout Beta will be downloaded on my PS4. We got a video with my boy Caboose on the main channel and our Collider Games channel where he breaks down the best Spider-Man suits and abilities. So make sure to check that out and give him a follow. Besides that, I'm just waiting on the next game. But nothing, not playing.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Black Ops next week after we've played a
little bit more. So one of the things that we got going on the channel is we got Josh McCouga back in the VR hot seat. Playing some horror VR games. The people at Wolf and Wood were nice enough to send us a copy of all 5 chapters of Exorcist Legion VR. And Josh played the first chapter. The video's up on Collider Games now. I think we might have broken him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I heard him playing. I knew you guys were playing that game. I know how Josh gets with it. However, this is the loudest I've ever heard him because I literally thought, because I could hear him, because the studio's over there, my office is over there, I literally thought you guys forgot to close the door because he was that loud.
Right.
I was like, oh, they forgot to close the door. Let me go shut it. The door was closed. The door was closed, and that's how loud he still was.
Yeah. So what I've decided is Christian can torture him as much as he wants with VR games, with horror VR. But I'm gonna have Josh play through some other games, to kind of cleanse his palate.
So it's not
in between.
So it's not all.
And boy, do I have a special one for him next. We are playing Super Seducer 2.
What is Super Seducer 2?
Super Seducer 2 came out today on Steam, and it is a live-action dating sim.
Is it a VR game?
No, it's straightforward. We're gonna put him on a.
This sounds perfect for Josh. It sounds perfect for Josh.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a great way to cleanse his palate and get him ready for Chapter 2 of Exorcist VR.
All right, guys. That's it for this episode. Dorian, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Dorian Parks and Rec because Parks and Rec is better than The Office, and then on Instagram you can find me at Dorian Parks.
Joey?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Joey Rasool, RASSOOL, and you can also find me on Collider Games.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Games. Also, subscribe to the podcast right now. The Collider Games podcast is in the Collider Factory. We also have a bunch of other YouTube channels. We launched our Collider Sports, which has its own podcast feed. Also, the channel I do an MMA show over there called MMA Takedown. We also have Collider Podcast, Collider Quick, and then obviously Collider Games and Collider Proper, which is our main video channel, which we talk about movies and television. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.